the Rolling Conversation with Francisco Lima. I'm your host, Francisco Lima. I'm the owner and the founder of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And today we're going to talk about white belt tips.
Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha Dillon. I'm your co-host here. I'm a blue belt here at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I've been training for about 2 years, and I'm really excited to get into this conversation with you.
So me and Natasha were talking about white belts, how we can help you guys to understand better this beautiful journey. And then we came up with one first question. Why people giving up Jiu-Jitsu even before try the first class? What do you think about that, Natasha?
Well, I think it's very intimidating for somebody to come in for their first class. First of all, for many adults, they've never tried another martial art before, and they really don't know what they're getting themselves into. It can be very scary to be someone who is either not currently active in a sport or has never been active in a sport to come and join a brand new one without ever doing something like this before.
Yeah, that's correct. I've been teaching for almost 10 years and then, of course, training for almost 25 years. I know how it could be intimidating for somebody give your first step into a jiu-jitsu school and they start like training. Behind the head, right, I know some things like, oh, this people is going to be friendly with me. Am I going to get hurt so I can't stop like training or work or hanging out with my family? So what's going to be the first thought or the most of them comes inside of like those people's about try the first class and then for some reason give it up even before you try. So I totally understand it's really intimidated, but if you want to find, right, a nice school that's going to give you a support, right, understanding, and then make sure you're going to have a safe path to walk into jiu-jitsu, I believe you're not going to get, regret, right? You're going to be really happy, and then you're going to understand the power of jiu-jitsu, because what I know so far, jiu-jitsu is beyond just go to the school, do a couple roles or techniques, but the benefits about jiu-jitsu goes beyond just on the mats.
Absolutely. Yeah, building off of that, gym culture and environment is very important for that, especially as a white belt. Everything's very intimidating. You don't know what you're getting yourself into. So when you have a very nice gym culture that accepts you and brings you in and really shows you the ropes of what's going on, it can be very helpful to break that initial barrier into starting.
And then I literally like this study because what's look like the first class for like a white belt? How the class could be designed, how these people is going to feel comfortable and safe going for the first class. Here's my insight about it. White belts, they are babies, right? They are people learning a new design of life. They are understanding how to understand their body, how to understand how to fall, how to roll, how to push, how to pull. So that's the whole understanding about different like perspectives. So the class has to be really designed in a way those people is gonna be able to apply sort of techniques. They are going to be able to move and understand how to move, and they start to understand the body. And they, of course, by the end of the class, they feel they succeed, they are able to do this, they are capable to do this, and then the most important, they didn't get hurt. So like they are welcome to the gym. Like the whole fear and the scary thoughts they have before, it goes away. And then right now they are ready to step like into this amazing journey that's for me changing my whole life. So what do you think?
Yeah, that actually just reminded me of what my first class was like. I remember in our warm-ups we had to do front rolls, and I had never done a front roll before. And right now it seems so silly to me that I would even be nervous about doing that. But like trying a new movement pattern in front of a whole group of people that already know what they're doing, it was like so nerve-wracking for me. And I believe it actually took me a couple classes before I was like, okay, yeah, I can actually just roll over my shoulder and it's not that big of a deal.
Amazing. And then actually, if you want to go for your first class, or you've been training for 1, 2, 3 months, and then you still like struggling for do a couple techniques, I think that's totally fine. I think it's part of the process. Nobody's gonna be able to do the technique or the like some movements only once. It is just for me. That's the repetition of consistency, right? Keep it doing, and then eventually you're gonna be able to do all of them, and then be 100% comfortable with your positions. So I think, yeah, the first class has to be something like, as we talk, like safe, capable for everybody. You're gonna feel safe, welcome, and then of course by the end of the class, you don't feel you didn't get hurt. You feel able to do everything, and then of course it's gonna be a decision after that, come back or not. So let's go move on to the next why. We are talking about how we're gonna keep white belts motivate to keep training. That's another like challenge.
Yeah, I do think it's definitely something that's very challenging because when you first start, everything is difficult. You're just learning how to move your body. You have never encountered something like this before. So it's really important to make sure that, we keep our white belt spirits up high.
Unfortunately, we always make really high expectations on us. And then sometimes when you don't keep up with those expectations, that's when you start like think about give up. So as I said at the beginning, we don't need to do everything perfectly or amazing the first class or the second or the third or even a month ahead. What you need is to be consistent, right? And if for your white belt, you just started or you've been training for a couple months and then you still struggling with the techniques, how to do this, how to do that, how to roll, I just want to like let you know you are fine. As long as you're going to keep, here's the thing, as long as you're going to keep consistent, at least training twice or 3 times a week, you're going to be able to accomplish all these techniques. You're going to be able to like understand all this movement. You're going to be able to do everything. Your professor, of course, needs to enforce and reinforce these informations over and over, because I have like a plan of my students like always talking to me, asking me, Professor, I feel I'm learning, I feel I'm stuck, I feel like nothing's like it. And I try to tell them like, calm down. So you just started, you better start it, and then you gotta just give you time to learn, because everybody's different. That's the second topic comes up about how you're gonna measure you. You're gonna measure you by yourself, or you're gonna measure you by others. How you gonna keep this level, right? So as a white belt, you gotta understand you are learning everything from scratch. You never did something else before, so just give you time to keep learning, to keep it moving, to understanding, and then eventually everything is gonna make sense to you. Don't rush. Jiu-Jitsu for me became like a long and slow marathon. It's not like a run that you need to finish in 30 seconds or 1 minute.
Absolutely. So going a little bit more into that, why do you think it's so important that a white belt in specific doesn't measure themselves against their peers?
Well, what happened, right? We are different. We all are different. So when you saw somebody else executing like a technique, and then you don't, you already like feel this person is better than me, I'm better than him, or I am a kind of slow, or she's faster. So that's when you start like make uh, comparison or measurement about who is the best, who's not. Like it's like something's connected actually with the ego, right? But in reality, as I said before, the only person you need to put yourself to compare, that's you. So every day, are you building some things new? So you gotta understand everybody has different ways to learn. Everybody has different times like to process things. It goes like for the kids, for the teens, for the adults, like old people. Everybody has different times like to learn and they process things. So you cannot expect and learn one technique as your peer. You cannot like expect and do the same technique as your peer. You just like need to measure you by your own skills. And then of course you can be inspired by others, but you don't have to be like them.
Yeah, going into that a little bit more, I know for myself in the beginning, that was definitely a challenge where I would measure myself against different people. But the reality is, people have been training for different amounts of time. People train twice a day, once a week. There are so many different variables into like how much effort somebody has put into learning a technique, right? And I think a lot of the times when we're comparing ourselves to others, we forget about these external factors, right? And most of the time when we compare ourselves, it is in a negative light. It's in a sense that, oh, well, why are they progressing faster than me? Why are they able to do this technique and I'm not able to do it yet? And I think that can be very detrimental for a white belt, especially if they haven't really fallen in love with the sport yet. It can take them away from it.
It's 100% accurate. So measure you by others. You gotta literally see what's the background of them. So if my teammate is training like 5 times a week, and I'm training 1 time a week, it means he's 4 times ahead for me. So I can catch up. So of course they have like different types of people. They have like people skilled and then they work hard. They have people work hard but they are not skilled. They have people with skill but doesn't work hard because they're lazy. And then they have like lazy people. They're just lazy and they keep lazy. So how are we gonna put like all these types of people together and they expect that they wanna be the same? It's not gonna happen, right? So we just, as I said, your first enemy, that's your ego. So and then for jiu-jitsu, that's like a sport that's always we need be each other to measure how good we are, or skilled or strong or whatever. It's like always bring like this feeling of ego to be the best in the class, to be the best in competitions, to be the best in all senses. That's like take away for us like a little bit more connection with like our community, with your teammates, and then of course you with yourself. So don't measure you with the others. Don't think somebody else is better than you. Don't think they always is gonna be in front of you. The only thing you need to do, as we've been talking in the beginning, is to be consistent, training hard as you can. Of course, you train as much as you can on top of like what kind of lifestyle you have, and then just enjoy the journey. If you wanna just come like for be a housey trainer, it's amazing. If you wanna be a guy who's gonna go for competition, of course you gotta train more than others. And then if you wanna just like support your school and the training with your teammates and the competition training, is the same. But the point is about how you're gonna be inspired for others, but not be compared with them.
Absolutely. And continuing on with that train of thought, let's talk a little bit about ups and downs, especially through a white belt. How does a white belt navigate ups and downs in jiu-jitsu?
That's a good question actually, because all these comparisons about am good, I'm not good. Like this guy right here, he's learning faster, I'm not learning faster. And then on top of that, we have like a lifestyle that sometimes like takes the students like away for the school for 1 2 weeks, and then they don't feel motivated to come back because you already think like somebody's gonna be better than me. This up and downs in jiu-jitsu, I think is gonna happen every time. It's really, and then again, it's all these like feelings, they are literally connected with our ego, right? Because we always wanna be on the top. We always like setting high expectations to ourselves, and then that's when it like brings ourselves down. Because if you cannot keep up with those expectations, you're gonna like break yourself like in two pieces, and then right now to fix it's gonna be really hard. I think the first like point is keep yourself well, I don't wanna light, right? So start easy, but think big, right? You want to start like, I want to train 5 times like a week, or 2 times a day, but don't set these expectations like right away, right? So try twice or one, but as much as you can, and as long as you feel you're improving, you start like getting more time into training, and then you're gonna come back for like the school, like in the high level. About training with your partners, right? How my teammate is gonna support me? Like you gotta understand, like actually it's really important point for like your teammate. They have those guys like just wanna beat each other, like be better than everybody. I am the best, and then I don't care if you don't know that much. I wanna crash you. I think it's really important you guys understand like how you're gonna measure your jiu-jitsu, and then help each other to feel better. Because if I help one of my teammates to feel better, of course I'm helping him to keep this long journey in a healthy way. Instead, like he feels like I'm bad, or I'm good, I'm bad. I'm helping them to get better, and then of course I'm helping myself to get better as well, because I'm helping others. So, but the up and downs in jiu-jitsu is gonna happens every single time. We just like needs, I think, extra help. Talk with your professor. Extra help. Talk your teammates. Extra help. Talk with the friends. So how you can manage those feelings, and then how we can fix this in order to keep it training like in a good way.
Absolutely. Like in times where you're having a negative mindset, I think it's especially important to lean on your community. And the community that we've built here allows us to do that, to talk to one another whenever we're having a downtime, or even when things are going good. You just like to share positive thoughts with your friends and stuff like that. And I really think that jiu-jitsu is a reflection of life in general. In life, you're going to have ups, you're going to have downs. You're going to go through periods where you're not really having a good time. And a lot of it in jiu-jitsu, in like staying here, is just to keep going, right? Consistency and community are two themes of this conversation that we've really honed in on, especially because, you know, when you are here consistently, you're going to see yourself grow. You're going to see yourself learn and adapt and get new skills. And that's going to make you feel better in the long run because you're performing better, right? And then community is in when you're having those downtimes, not taking it out on your training partner, but leaning on them and asking them for support.
I think what you said, it's like amazing. I totally believe. I agree 100%. And I think about it, we're going to have like a bad day. We come to the gym, right? We want to train jiu-jitsu. And then we're going to find this guy just want to give me chokes, armbar, full logs, and then neon bellies, right? I'm done with that.
That's my definition of a good time.
Right? I don't want to come back right here. So like I'm done. So it's the feeling of have a bad day, come right here, and then being crashed right by somebody else that right now we just like need a little bit of support makes our bad day be extra bad, right? Like right now, you just like it goes like way down. So that's when the community is like it's ready to support each other. Like you, what happened to you? Like why you feeling there? Why you training like that? Oh, I don't feel good. No, come over here. Let me show one technique. I think you should like make this better. And then even if you have like a bad day, when you want to leave this jiu-jitsu school, your day is better because you got some support, right? And then of course on top of this, ask your teammates like how they can help it, you guys. Like maybe that's like you have a bad day with the jiu-jitsu and then you're gonna have like a good day like out there. Maybe that's like a bad day right there and then you're gonna have like a better day right here. We never know what's going on, but I believe communication could be one of the amazing keys to support each other and then make this way better. If you don't talk, right, nobody's gonna like find out what's going on with you. Never expecting that somebody else is gonna like translate what's going on in your head. Okay, so let's go just go keep it like clear and simple for everybody. Let's go moving up for the next. What I think is good with that. Natasha, do you wanna like it? Do you wanna add something else?
No, I think we've pretty much covered everything.
Yeah. How about the up and downs in general, like for the whole belt? I know you're just like a blue belt. I want to talk about maybe like white, purples, and then brown belts. But what do you think about for your experiences so far as a white and the blue? What's make you guys feel like so up and down? Like,
yeah, so I think it is a little bit different once you move away from white belt, just because you have the expectation that you know a little bit about jiu-jitsu when in reality you've only scratched the surface, right? So once you reach blue belt, in my opinion, because, you know, I don't have the experience to go beyond that, once you reach blue belt, you have expectations. As a white belt, you don't have expectations. You come into the gym like a baby, brand new, not knowing any of the movement patterns. At blue belt, you're expected to know something. That belt on your waist means that you have a certain level of knowledge and that you can express that through your technique, right? So that can be very challenging for someone when they're not having a good time in the gym. Let's say, you know, they just got submitted by a white belt. They're like, oh, I'm not good enough for this belt.
yeah.
But I don't believe that that's the case.
I don't believe either. I remember was a white belt, and then I was having really good time against other white belts, and then actually sometimes like some blue belts, because I was like fortunately always a little bit like more athletic, strong, and in my head, of course, as a white belt, I think it was helping, but when I turn as a blue, as you know, everything started like getting different, and I felt like I don't know jiu-jitsu, right? And then actually I stopped jiu-jitsu because I feel like I wasn't ready for like the blue belt, and then it was like a point that I feel I need to know more, but it stopped. It's not solution, right? Keep training was my solution, but I didn't like take the wrong path. I didn't go for like a radical step to stop it because I didn't understand jiu-jitsu. And then when I came back, I started like learning from the zero. And then I got my purple belt, right? When I got my purple belt, that's I understand like, okay, right now I don't know jiu-jitsu at all. So and then I started like pushing myself to learn it way more because right now I need to prove to my students, because when there was a purple belt, I started coaching. I need to prove to these guys that I know jiu-jitsu. And then the purple belt for me was the sense of why I'm doing this, right? And then that's when the like jiu-jitsu like has a little bit click on me. When there was a brown belt, right, I was still struggling a lot because when you start like jiu-jitsu, right, of course you're gonna like follow a little bit the steps of your professors, and then you're gonna start like create the same patterns or style because that's like the most like techniques they want to teach you. And I was kind of following my style of my professor, like more techniques in specific, and the other techniques I was struggling. And then when I realized like my brown belt wasn't that good, and I was like, oh my gosh, what I'm supposed to do for that point? I pushed myself to instead of stop as I did with like blue belt, right? Right now, I push myself in the other direction. I start to put myself in the bad positions every single time to learn how to escape them. And then whatever was like weak, I was trying getting better because I knew I needed. But it was really hard belt for me because I couldn't even pass somebody else's guards because it was my passing guard was really bad. So I need to improve that. When I got my black belt, right? So that's the jiu-jitsu started like it makes sense to me. And they understood. I didn't know jiu-jitsu, right? Right now I need to learn everything from the zero because I am a black belt. And then everybody's trusting me. Like they needed to know what I'm teaching is going to be 100% validated. But at some point, jiu-jitsu became beyond only repeat a technique. What I understood about today with the jiu-jitsu, it's like an art of the reaction, the actions. And then every single reaction is going to change your reaction. Every single reaction is going to change the way you're going to like react over. And then it's amazing how this perspective as a black belt changed so much. But if you guys couldn't see like white, blue, purple, brown, and the black belt, they have different challenges. They have different up and downs. It goes all the way through your career. You gotta understand you're gonna struggle with every single belt. It's part of the process. We just like need to trust, but never do what I did. Stop because you are struggling. You gotta keep it moving forward. That's the only way you're gonna like figure out what to do.
Yeah, that's something really interesting that you said, actually, that yes, like we have different challenges at each of the belt levels, but it seems that there are common themes that go across all the belts, right? Because you were talking about how like there, like throughout each belt level, you felt like you kind of had to represent that belt in a certain way, and your expectations didn't really meet what you felt like you should be when you were performing, right? And I think that also connects to the fact that the solution to all those ups and downs is the same that we've been discussing this whole time.
Be consistent. Don't stop.
Consistency,
Never give up. Keep talking. I ask for help and support each other. Be a community instead like try walk alone. Jiu-jitsu, that's the most collective sport I can see. You can training alone jiu-jitsu, right? Like people show like drills, but if you don't know how to do drills with like a human being, like I don't think it's gonna work like pretty much at all because we need the reaction and the actions, right? So you need your community. So that's why it's so important. You guys rely on each other.
Yeah, very interesting that you said that, actually, because it is an individual sport, right? When you go up to compete, it's just you on the mat, but without your training partners, you're nothing.
You understand? You like it. I don't think it's gonna like if you have a dummy and then you keep like rolling back and forth, you're gonna be able to accomplish what because you need like a human being reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it helps. How about injuries, Natasha? So tell me a little bit about you. How you been dealing with since you started jiu-jitsu? You've been training at least like two and a half years, right?
Yeah.
How you been like dealing with the injuries, and then how those like look like for you?
Yeah, so I've been very lucky in the sense that I've had nothing major in terms of injuries, but of course, you know, you have your little niggles, your little like pains that you get from, you know, training, competition, stuff like that. Currently dealing with some rib pain that hurts a lot. But yeah, so injuries are going to happen on the mat. It's unavoidable, but there are some things that you can do to mitigate the risk of injury and also how severe the injury is. And I think one of those things is really communicating with your training partners. Like, obviously, whenever you're in a submission, like the onus is on you to tap, and the onus is also on your training partner to make sure they don't take things too far, right? So communicating with your training partner, be like, hey, it kind of hurts when you do this. Can you go a little bit slower, maybe? And just making sure that open line of communication is going so that you can avoid risk.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's totally true. 20 years ago, the training wasn't that safe like that. Like jiu-jitsu was like a really tough like sport, and everybody want to do it. And then like that's why everybody want to do it, because everybody wants to be tough. And today we have like this more community like, hey buddy, we know like soft, we're gonna train you hard, but we're gonna try avoid the injuries, because we don't need to have injuries in order to like be tough. And then with my first month of jiu-jitsu, I broke my arm. I broke my elbow right here, right? Because I have a kimura. I didn't want to tap. My teammate didn't want to let it go. And then I stopped jiu-jitsu like for 3 months. You can see as a white belt, I stopped already like for like 3 months, but I say, you know why? I want to come back. However, we know a lot of people, if they broke their arm, because as a jiu-jitsu owner, I've been watching this every time, and I've been like manager all the jiu-jitsu schools. If you break your arm, if you break your finger, if you break your leg in the first month trying jiu-jitsu, you're never going to come back. Or you're never going to come back for the jiu-jitsu school specific, you're going to try another one. But the trauma of like being injured, like in the social like level way, you don't want to come back anymore, right? So you want to try like stop forever, you want to try like some things like safer to your life. So injuries, I believe that something's going to happen no matter what, because we are not doing drawing or painting or singing, right? We are doing some things like physically that we need contact with each other. However, we don't need to break each other arms like I did. We don't need to break like legs. You don't need like to break it full. Like injuries like by accident is different, because we are like moving, rolling. It's part of the process. But in a purpose way, so that's damage for everybody, damage for the school, because we need the students, right? It's damage for the student because he needs training, and the damage for the whole community, because the whole community needs this student like to make one more like training partner. That's exactly what we talked before. So like everybody's gonna be what is losing. So it's like losing, right? So we need to understand. I don't try be soft. I don't want my students to be soft. I want them to be tough, but I want them to understand once you have an opposition that you need to let it go, you will. Even if this guy right there, he doesn't want to tap it, because he doesn't know the consequence. That's really important to understand it for like this podcast right now. People doesn't tap, they don't know the consequence. You go far as you can, but this guy understands, hey, it's too far, let it go, and they reset. And I think that's a win-win, because you tapped him, and then he didn't tap right here. Psychologically, he tapped. And then his ego is crying, because he know he tapped. And then that's what we need. That's what matters the most. And then on top of that, just keep training. And then this guy didn't tap, he's a danger one. Because he needs to understand, if he doesn't tap, he doesn't want to let it go. So he needs to understand, he needs to let it go at some point as well, to avoid the injuries against your student, training partner. So this mindset, I think, is really important to keep like a jiu-jitsu school safe, community, and you always protect each other. And then, of course, if you're white belt, blue belt, purple, brown, I think brown and the black belt for this point, it's really rare for me, like see like people with a purple, brown, and the black stop it because they got injuries, because right now they didn't go through so much, they don't care anymore. But for white, blue belts that you got hurt, guys, it's if it wasn't something stupid, careless, it's okay. It's okay, right? Don't be soft. Go home, get better, and come back. And they even, sometimes what I like to say for my students, if you got injury, don't stop training. Come to the school, do the techniques, but don't do live training, don't do specific training. Just repeat, of course, if you can keep it moving. And after that, you go home. But you still keep it learning, you still keep it moving. Don't stop at all when you can still going. But injuries is part of the process. Don't think you are special or you're not made it for this. You are. You just like Neander said, you are. That happened to you. That's all.
Yeah. Building off of that, I remember having a shoulder injury maybe like 4 or 5 months into training where it was just like a couple of like days, weeks, right, where I was out, but I still came to training so I could watch the technique. I wasn't able to actually participate in any of the drills or anything like that, but still coming to the gym so that you can still remain a part of the community. You can still see your friends. You can still remain engaged with the techniques and keep your mind moving, even if your body can't, right? And then another really important thing that you said was talking to so you as an instructor do a really good job of talking to all of us and letting us know, hey, like, don't let your ego get in the way of a submission. Don't let it lead to injury, right? So you always talk about protecting your training partners. You always talk about, like, if a submission's in too tight, let it go. You know, you don't want to injure your friend just because, you know, your ego got in the way.
You want to feel good, right?
Right.
So again, a submission when somebody else doesn't tap, right here, he knows he tapped. Mm-hmm. And I think hurts more here than here, then what else? So it's just like a little process. And we need to just like get comfortable with that. And then I think we should like wrap up this conversation with just like reinforcing what we talked at the beginning. Stay consistent, right? So white belt or blue belt, if you're still struggling back and forth and going to the jiu-jitsu school or even hesitating to start your first class, just go. Try it. Don't stop like for 3-4 months because you think you're not good, because you are good. Just give enough time for you to learn. It's sometimes gonna take you longer than usual. Sometimes it's gonna be fast. You just like a person, you know somebody else. Just like focus on yourself and they keep you walking this journey, because that's your life journey. That's know somebody else's life journey, and they give your time to learning. But get away as I did, it's not gonna help. You gotta keep consistent.
Absolutely. Consistency and community has been a major theme in this conversation.
I hope you guys have so much fun. I hope we are able to give you guys more insights about white belt, and then of course we talk about different belts. And I'm just excited for the next one. And again, if you guys have any matters you want to talk with us, please send me a message or send it to Natasha. Give like a comment on our video. We're gonna be happy to answer all the questions. Thank you so much, and then I'm gonna see you guys next episode.
Thank you, guys.